Rizal's homecoming in 1896. In 1896, Rizal returned to his native land, facing a supreme test that might mean his life sacrifice. He welcomed the challenge and hoped his blood would help Filipino freedom. However, his trial was a mockery of justice, with his enemies gaining his blood without genuine justice. So in this chapter, we will know what happened in the last homecoming and trial of Rizal and how does it happen. A martyr's last homecoming. Rizal meticulously documented his last homecoming from Barcelona on October 6, 1896 in his diary. Despite being strictly guarded, he was treated courteously by the army officers. The officer on duty, he wrote in his diary, seems amiable, refined, and polite, consistent with the seriousness of his duty. We know this story today because Rizal still wrote in his diary his experience during that time, despite his situation. He even wrote how he is treated by the army officers that guarded him. On October 8, Rizal was informed by a friendly officer that Madrid newspapers were blaming him for the bloody revolution in the Philippines. Realizing the unjust public opinion, Rizal thanked God for giving him the chance to return to confront his slanderers and vindicate his name. He believed that God's blessing allowed him to return to the Philippines to face accusations and face justice, either rehabilitating or sentenced to death. He felt more calm and ready to obey God's will, whether condemned or absolved. So some officer told Rizal that according to the newspapers, he is the reason why there's a revolution in the Philippines. But still, despite hearing the news, Rizal thanked God kay he's given a chance nga mabalik para mag-atubang og ma-storya ang mga naikalain niya. Then ma-defend iyang self. Ready kayo siya iatubang tanan daw sa pag ma-prove as guilty or ma-free siya. Confiscation of Rizal's diary. It was known to the Spanish authorities on board the column that Rizal was keeping track of the daily events in his diary. They were of course curious as to what were recorded in his diary. Not only their curiosity but also their suspicion was aroused, for they feared that the diarist might be writing something seditious or treasonable. Aware ang mga Spanish authorities about sa pagsulat ni Rizal sa iyang diary of course. Maong gakabaler sila nga basin unsa nay gisulat ni Rizal. Rizal's diary was taken away on October 11 before reaching Port Said, and authorities scrutinized it. No dangerous items were found. The diary was returned on November 2, but Rizal couldn't record events from October 12 to November 1. Authorities searched Rizal's luggage, took away papers, and held him behind bars until reached the Red Sea. Rizal was also held in Singapore 16 hours before their arrival and handcuffed twice. Maong gi-confiscate nila or gikuha nila ang diary ni Rizal. Tas giimbestigahan nila if naa ba dyo'y lain nga gisulat si Rizal. Pero wala sila nakita. Mga paranoid na kay. Tas aya pagibalik mga November 2 maong wala na nakasulat si Rizal from October 12 to November 1. Maong wata kabaloon sa nahitabo ato nga mga panahon na. Then wa pa na kontento sila gi-search na sad nila ang bagahe ni Rizal tas gikulong siya. Gihandcuff pa jud. Unsuccessful rescue in Singapore. Rizal's predicament reached his friends in Europe and Singapore, prompting Dr. Antonio Regidor and Sixto Lopez to send telegrams from London to Singapore. The lawyer U. Fort filed for Rizal's removal from the Spanish steamer, arguing he was illegally detained. Ang kaagi ni Rizal kay niabot sa iyang mga friends sa Europe tas hantod sa niabot sa Singapore. Ang tuwa Singapore kay si Attorney Fort tas pagkabalo niya sa kaagi ni Rizal dito ni siya nag-file og case nga illegally detained daw si Rizal. Chief Justice Lionel Cox denied Rizal's writ, arguing the colon was carrying Spanish troops to the Philippines, a foreign power beyond Singapore's jurisdiction, and Rizal was unaware of his friend's rescue attempt. Pero wala nito si Chief Justice Cox, iyang gideny kay lagi powerful man ang pikas na side. Sa panghitabo nga pag-try og save sa friends ni Rizal, sa iya wa jud tawon siya kabalo. Sad lang ang part nga unaware kay ka nga naay niabot nga tawang.
Arrived in Manila. On November 3, the colon reached Manila, where it is greeted well rejoining by the Spaniard and fierce because it brought more reinforcement and military supplies. While the Spaniard committee was exultant with joy, Czar was quietly transferred under the heavy guard from the ship of Fort Santiago ng kaninga slides kay sa November 3, nakaabot ang colon sa Spaniard sa Manila. Ang nalipay sila kay nang nakaabot ang ilang reinforcement o mga military supply. Ngayon, nalipay sila kay nag-succeed ang plano nila kay Rizal. Ngayon, si Rizal kay gibalin sa warag Bartolina na kulungan nga wala nila gisaba-saba. Meanwhile, the Spaniard authorities shout evidence against Rizal. Many Filipino patriots, including Diodato Arellano, Dr. Pio Valenzuela, Moises Salvador, Jose Dizon, Domingo Franco, Pimentel, Pez, and Pedro Soriano Lactao were brutally tortured and implicate Rizal. Rizal's own brother Pasiano was arrested and currently tortured. He suffered all pains inflicted by Spain, diabolical tortures, but he never signed any damage statement incriminating his young brother. Although his body was shattered on the torture rack and his left hand crushed by screw, his blunt Asian spirit remained unbroken. Nang kani nga slide kay nangita sila og mga evidence kay Rizal og naay mga nangadakpan nga Pilipino og pati iyang igsuon. Iyang nanggipang torture sila kay gusto nila paangkon na kauban nila si Rizal. Bisan grabe na pag-torture sa iyang mangod, wala gyapon siya nag-sign. Preliminary investigation. On November 20, the preliminary investigation began. Rizal, the accused, appeared before the judge advocate, Colonel Francisco Olive. He was the subject of the grueling 5 days investigation. He was informed of the charges against him. He answered the question asked by the judge advocator, but he was not permitted to comfort those that testified against him. Sa November 20, nagsugod ilang investigation kay Rizal. Niabot og 5 days ilang investigation. Ipangsaba sa judge ang mga charges kay Rizal. Pero gipangtubag tanan ni Rizal ang pangutana sa judge advocate. Tapos wala gisugtan si Rizal na makumpronta ang mga testigo. Two kinds of evidence were presented against Rizal, namely document and testimonial. The documentary evidence consists of 15 exhibits as follows. 1. A letter of Antonio Luna to the Mario Pons, date Madrid, October 16, 1888, show Rizal connection with the Filipinos from campaign in Spain. 2. A letter of Rizal to his family date Madrid, August 20, 1890, starting the that the deportation are good for the will encourage the people to hate training. 3. A letter from Marsilio H. del Pilar to Diodato Arellano, date Madrid, January 7, 1889, implicating Rizal in the propaganda campaign in Spain. A poem of entitled Kundiman, allegedly written by Rizal in Manila on September 12, 1891. This poem is as follows. Kundiman, the Orient beautiful where the sun is born, in the land of beauty, of full of enhancement but bound in chain, where the despot reign, the land is to me. Is one she a thief is drowning in the trinity grip. Lucky shall he be who can give her liberty. A letter of Carlos Oliver to unidentified person, date Barcelona, September 18, 1891, describing Rizal as the man to free the Philippines from Spain operation. 6. A Masonic document date Manila, February 9, 1892, honoring Rizal for his patriotic service. 7. A later sign of Dimasalang, Rizal's Posidonium to Tinlus Juan Zulietas Posidonium, date Hong Kong, May 24, 1892, starting he was preparing the safe of refuge for Filipino who may be persecuted by the Spanish authorities.
The eighth evidence of documentary was a letter of Dimalansag to an unidentified committee dated Hong Kong, June 1, 1892, soliciting the aid of the committee in the patriotic work. The ninth evidence was an anonymous and undated letter to the editor of the Hong Kong Telegraph, censuring the banishment of Rizal to the Pitan. The tenth evidence was a letter of Ildefonso Laurel to Rizal, dated Manila, September 3, 1892, saying that the Filipino people look up to him as their savior. The 11th evidence was a letter of Ildefonso Laurel to Rizal, dated Manila, 17, 1893, informing an unidentified correspondent of the arrest and banishment of Doroten Cortes and Ambrosio Salvador. The 12th evidence was a letter of Marcelo H. de Pilar to Don Juan 18 Luz, dated Madrid, June 1, 1893, recommending the establishment of a special organization independent of Masonry to help the cause of the Filipino people. The 13th evidence was a transcript of a speech of Penghikian Emilio Jacinto in a reunion of the Katipunan on July 23, 1893, in which the following cry was uttered: "Long live the Philippines! Long live liberty! Long live Dr. Rizal! Unity!" The 14th evidence was transcript of a speech of Tiktik Jose Toriano Santiago in the same Katipunan reunion, wherein the Katipuneros shouted, "Long live the eminent Dr. Rizal, death to the oppressor nation." The 15th evidence was a poem by Laong Laan entitled Atalisay, in which the author makes the Dapitan schoolboys sing that they know how to fight for their rights. The testimonial evidence consists of the oral testimonies of Martin Constantino, Guido del Rosario, Jose Reyes, Moses Salvador, Jose Dizon, Domingo Franco, Diodato Arellano, Ambrosio Salvador, Pedro Serrano, Soriano Lactao, Dr. Pio Valenzuela, Antonio Salazar, Francisco Quezon, and Timoteo Paez. Preliminary investigation. Adtong November 26, gisend ni Colonel Olive ang record sa kaso ni Rizal kang Governor General Ramon Blanco nga siya ang nagpili nga mahimo nga special judge si Captain Rafael Dominguez ug gipadayon kini ni Dominguez og charge ug gibalik dayon kini niya kang Blanco ug iya ning gipasa sa judge para ma-advocate ni General Don Nicolas de la Peña para sa opinion ug istadihan ni Peña ang mga papel ug iya kining gipasa ang mga recommendation ug mao kini ang mga sulod. Pinakauna, ang akos diretso dalon sa trial. Ikaduha, dapat siya ibutang sa presuhan. Ikatulo, ang order nga attachment against sa iyang property nga modagan og 1 million para sa seguridad. Ikaupat, dapat army officer ang magdepensa sa iya dili ang civilian nga abogado.
In this report, we delve into the pivotal moment when Jose Rizal, faced with accusations, carefully selects his defender. Additionally, we analyze the intricate details surrounding the reading of charges against the accused, shedding light on the profound implications of these events in the historical context of Rizal's life. I will read first before I will explain everything. Rizal chooses his defender. The only right given to Rizal by the Spanish authorities was to choose his defense counsel, and even this was highly restricted, for he had to choose only from a list submitted to him. On December 8th, feast day of the Immaculate Conception, a list of 101st and 2nd lieutenants in the Spanish army was presented to Rizal. He looked over the list. One name struck his fancy. It has Don Luis Taviel de Andrade, first lieutenant of the artillery. The name was familiar to him, so that he chose the lieutenant to be his defender in court. LT Luis proved to be the brother of Lieutenant Jose Taviel de Andrade, Rizal's bodyguard in Calamba in 1887. Upon being notified by the authorities that he was chosen to defend the accused, he gladly accepted the task. He had previously heard from his older brother about Dr. Rizal of Calamba. Based on my research, I will just explain everything about the topic why Rizal chooses defender. Jose Rizal's decision to choose his defender is a crucial episode in Philippine history that occurred during his trial in 1896. Facing charges of rebellion, sedition, and conspiracies, Rizal's selection of legal representation was a strategic and complex process. I have here the legal and political context. Rizal was arrested and put on trial by the Spanish authorities, who perceived him as a threat due to his nationalist writings and activism. Selection criteria. The defender had to understand the nuances of the charges, which were rooted in Rizal's nationalist activities and writings. Timing and symbolism. The selection took place on December 8th, the Fiesta of Immaculate Conception. This timing was not coincidental. It carried religious and cultural significance. Aligning this decision with a Catholic fest, they might have been a strategic move by Rizal. Impact on trial strategy. Rizal's choice of a defender set the tone for his legal strategy. The selected defender would play a crucial role in presenting arguments, countering the charges, and navigating the legal proceedings. Historical implications. The events surrounding Rizal's choice of defender oversights into the challenges faced by Philippine nationalists during the late 19th century. In essence, Rizal's decision to choose his defender encapsulates the intricate interplay of legal, political, cultural, and religious elements during a critical period in Philippine history, providing a lens through which to understand the complexities of the struggle for independence. And now I will just tell the summary about reading of information of charges to the accused. The reading of information of charges to the accused refers to the formal presentation of charges against an individual during a legal proceeding. This crucial step involves articulating the specific allegations and legal grounds on which the accused is being charged. The process ensures transparency and provides the accused with a clear understanding of the charges they face, allowing them to prepare an effective defense in the context of historical events, such as the case of Rizal. The reading of charges held profound significance as it marked the initiation of legal proceedings and set the stage for the accused to respond to the allegations. Reading of information of charges to the accused. On December 11, Rizal was accused of being the principal organizer and living soul of the Filipino insurrection. He pleaded not guilty to rebellion but admitted to writing the constitution of the Liga Filipina, which was a civic association. He waived the right to amend or make further statements, except that he had taken no part in the politics since his exile to Dapitan. Dominguez sent Rizal's case papers to Malacanang Place on December 13. The same day, General Camilo G. de Polavieja became Governor General of the Philippines. Blanco's withdrawal sealed Rizal's fate, as he was more humane and believed Rizal was not a traitor to Spain. Rizal's execution was one of the IFs in history, as destiny is in the accordance with God's divine plan. The context that I have read lately is very clear, and it's all about the reading of information of charges to the accused. In the context of Rizal's trial involves the formal presentation of specific allegations against him. This critical steps ensures transparency, providing Rizal with a clear understanding of the charges he faces. The process sets the stage for legal proceedings, allowing Rizal to prepare his defense against politically motivated charges during a pivotal period in Philippine history. And that will be all, and thank you.
Rizal Manifesto to his people. In his essay Manifesto to Certain Filipinos, Philippine national hero Jose Rizal condemns the action of Katipunan, Philippine Revelations Group, in their attempt to stage a bloody rebellion against Spanish authorities due to the perceived injustice of the Spain against the Filipino people. The manifesto, which is tried to convince the Filipinos to end the revolt. First, he absolved himself by declaring that he was never part of the revolution. His name is used to attract Filipinos to join revolution. And second, he has consulted about the plan of revolution, but he advised the perpetrators to abandon it. He wanted to stop the revolution by offering his service to the people. Fourth one is he condemned the revolution as ridiculous and barbarous. And the fifth one is uprising is not an option at that time, that reforms should be authorities the citizens. He made it clear that the people's education is potent in inducing changes of the society. The manifesto is an illuminating statement of Rizal's reason, dietary as stipulated in the No Limit Tangere and El Filibusterismo. Although Rizal is loaded with abusive practices of the priors and colonial government, he never advocated an abrupt, enthusiastic approach to independence. He believed that the Filipinos' enlightenment was crucial. Unfortunately, the manifesto was never made in public. It was not enough to convince his accusers of his innocence. Rizal knew that his life was at end, but he was satisfied that he stood up his principles.
Rizal's saddest Christmas. On December 25, 1896, Christ's birthday was celebrated in Cristo marketing the birth of Christ. However, for Rizal, a Merry Christmas, he found himself alone and depressed in a diary person cell. This was his last on earth, and the saddest Christmas in his life. He was in despair and had no illusion about his fate. In despair, he wrote a letter to LT traveled to Android express his hopelessness and despair. Rizal saddest Christmas. Kani ang pinakasad na Christmas day ni Rizal because he found himself na siya raisa and depressed na person. For Santiago, December 25, 1896, my very distinguished defender, the investigating judges informed me that tomorrow my case will be heard before the court. I was waiting for you this morning to tell you of an important matter, but undoubtedly the pressure of your work did not permit you to come as expected by investigating judge. If you have time, I should like I speak to you before I fear before the court. I shall be grateful if you come this afternoon. This everything on tomorrow. Wishing you Merry Christmas and reiterate always your attentive and affectionate servant and client. Ang letter naghimo ni Rizal Forest Defender and gi-inform niya tomorrow iyang case will be heard before the court. Nagulat si Rizal na maabot iyang defender but suddenly tungod sa trabaho wala siya nakaanha maong naghimo siya og letter nagbabasakali na makatunga siya. The trial the trial of Rizal. The trial of Rizal was a clear example of Spanish injustice and measure. Rizal, a civilian, was tried by military court with alien officer who prejudged his case and considered him quality before the trial. The court accepted all charges against him, ignored his argument, and denied him the right to face witnesses in open court, and prevalent that any accused should have an really court of justice. The trial of Rizal on December 26, 1996, 1896, Rizal Court material began in the Cuartel España, a military building. The 7 members of military court, including D.R. Rizal, his defense counsel, Judge Advocate Dominguez, and prosecuting attorney Alcocer, who represent Rizal, sat a bunch between two soldiers, his arm tied behind, and was dressed in a black wool suit with white vest and black tie. The trial of Rizal when LT traveled the untrained Toque set his court as Rizal what and anything to say Rizal then real a supplement to his defense which his root in prison cell. In his supplementary defense he further proven him innocent by the point he could not quality rebellion for he advised the RPO Valenzuela indapitan enough to rise in revolution. He did not correspond with the radical revolutionary elements. The revolution used his name without his knowledge. If he were quality, he could have escaped in Singapore. The trial of Rizal. Sa iyang trial prejudge iyang case na quality before the trial, meaning akusahan siya or gi paratangan siya diretso na quality matawag na og unfair ang trial para kay Rizal.
The fourth trial of Rizal. If he had a hand in the revolution, he could have escaped in a Moroventa and would not build a home, a hospital, and bought lands in the Pitan. Fifth trial of Rizal. If he were the chief of the revolution, why was he not consulted by the revolutionists? Sixth trial of Rizal. It was true he wrote the bylaws of the Liga Filipina, but this is only a civic association society, not a revolutionary. Seventh trial of Rizal. The Liga Filipina did not live long, for after the first meeting, he was banished to the Pitan and it died out. The eighth trial of Rizal. If the Liga was reorganized 9 months later, he did not know about it. The ninth trial of Rizal. The Liga did not serve the purpose of the revolutionists, otherwise they would not have supplanted with the Katipunan. The 10th trial of Rizal. If it were true that there were some bitter comments in Rizal's letters, it was because they were written in 1890, when his family was being persecuted, being dispossessed of houses, warehouse, lands, and etc. And his brother and all his brothers-in-law were deported. 11th trial of Rizal. His life in the Pitan had been exemplary, as the politico-military commanders and missionary priests could attest. The 12th trial of Rizal. It was not true that the revolution was inspired by his one speech at the house of Doroteo Ongjongko, was alleged by witness whom he would like to confront. His friends knew his opposition to armed rebellion. Why did the Katipunan send an emissary to the Pitan who was unknown to him? Because those who knew him were aware that he would never sanction any violent movement. The military court, prejudiced as it was, remaining indifferent to Rizal's pleading. The President, Lieutenant Colonel Togores Arjuna, considered the trial over and ordered the hall cleared. After a short deliberation, the military court unanimously voted for the sentence of death. So, despite Rizal's pleas, the military court, influenced by prejudice shown to sympathy, the President, Lieutenant Colonel Togores Arjuna, deemed the trial concluded and instructed the hall to be cleared. Following a brief deliberation, the military court unanimously decided on the death sentence of Rizal. On the same date, December 26, the court decision was submitted to Governor General Polavieja. Immediately, Polavieja sought the opinion of Judge Advocate General Nicolas de la Peña on the court decision. The latter affirmed the death verdict. So on the December 26, the court decision was presented to Governor General Polavieja without delay. And Polavieja consulted Judge Advocate General Nicolas del Pilar for his opinion on the court decision. And de la Peña confirmed and endorsed the death verdict of Rizal. Polavieja signed Rizal's execution. On December 28, Polavieja approved the decision of the court-martial and ordered Rizal to be shot at 7 o'clock in the morning of December 30 at Bagumbayan Field, Barceloneta. His decree on this matter runs as follows. Manila, December 28, 1896. Comfortably to the foregoing opinion, I approve the sentence dictated by the court-martial in the present case, by virtue of which the death penalty is imposed on the accused Jose Rizal Mercado, which shall be executed by shooting him at 7 o'clock in the morning of the 30th of this month in the field of Bagumbayan. So, on December 28, 1896, in Manila, the authority, likely Governor General Poleveja, endorsed the court's decision following the Judge Advocate General opinion. The death penalty was sanctioned for Jose Rizal's execution. The schedule for the execution of Rizal was 7 o'clock in the morning at the Bagumbayan Field or the Luneta Park. For compliance and the rest that may correspond, let this be returned to the Judge Advocate Captain Don Rafael Dominguez. Camilo G. de Polavilla for signing the fatal document ordering the execution of Dr. Rizal. Governor General Polavilla won the internal odium of the Filipino people. He and other Spanish officials who were responsible for the death of Rizal will evermore remain as obnoxious villains in the Philippine history. So, the statement is directing that there were additional tasks or action required. The document should be sent back to Captain Don Rafael Dominguez, who served as the judge advocate, for further attention and necessary follow-up. And this passage criticized Governor General Camilo G. de Polavilla for signing the document that authorized the execution of Dr. Rizal. It states that Polavilla earned lasting disdain from the Filipino people for his role in Rizal's death. Alongside other Spanish officials involved in the execution, they were depicted as enduringly in famous figures in Philippine history.